My name is Iman Benet, and I'm here to tell the regenerative story of our time. To provide you with a choice to decide for yourself what kind of world it is you wish to live in. Through the lens of food, storytelling, and environmental justice, I aim to effectively activate and empower local communities by sharing stories, advancing social education, and creating space for conscious conversation that leads to world change. Welcome to the farmer's table. Hi guys.
Hey, man.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this for us.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me.
What do you have for us?
I could tell you, but I think Farmer Kesh actually would be able to tell you a little bit better than I would be able to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. To me, we have our romaine lettuce. All this stuff is grown here, so that's with something really unique, right? So
it's quite literally farm to table.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Fresh out of the
just
ground.
Harvested. So we have your fennel flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have some of the blueberries that you picked. There's actually green,
yeah.
not ripe ones, to give that nice
sour tart flavor. Yeah,
sure.
I'm excited
and
about
we
those.
have some little gems from our local farm, just right next to us.
Nice.
And let's see what else you have in there.
Got some mustard greens.
Yeah, the red mustard frill also too.
My favorite.
You have your purple radishes from our
Yes.
farm. And see, and to me my favorite, the nasturtium. It gives a nice spicy
Purple
taste.
radishes.
Yeah, for sure. Because we're a
so
small farm, we're unique in that we could grow unique things.
Mm.
Yeah, and because it's all to farmers market, so people like to see something different, and we like to grow things that are different too.
And is there a little bit of taste difference also between the normal and the purple ones?
Yeah, I could say it has maybe. I could be just making this up. I don't know, but to me, it does taste like it just tastes more mild.
Mild.
Yeah, not as spicy.
Yeah. It's subtler. Yeah. Should we dive in? Can I serve?
Yes.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. That's a good one. I love food that is colorful. I'm a huge proponent of eating the rainbow. I don't know if you guys have ever heard.
I've definitely heard eating the rainbow,
the
for
importance
sure.
of that before, but having foods that are multiple colors, and we can eat some of the good toppings and stuff.
It tastes better too.
It tastes better. It's better for you. Obviously, you're getting a variety of nutrients and all the good stuff that you need. I know you were telling me a little bit when we were harvesting that the nasturtium is anti.
Yeah, basically it prevents cancer.
Prevents cancer. I was like,
help.
what's that word?
It could help with that. Yeah. It's not like it could definitely get rid of it, but it definitely gives you certain chemicals in it that helps your body do what it does best, is protect yourself.
Absolutely.
That's also the blueberries also do a lot of antioxidants. It's just like these certain chemicals that food basically gets broken down in our bodies, and that it helps a lot of the natural processes, which to me is amazing. Just I keep learning more and more the more I dive into it. There really is no end to seeing how food is medicine, and now it also too, our taste buds taste the nutrients as well. So when it tastes really good, that means that for the most part it seems like it also has great nutrients as well.
Yeah, and that your body is agreeing with it. It's like, more of this please, because it knows that it has the stuff it needs.
Cheers.
That's amazing. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Let's dive in.
Yeah.
Salud.
Salud. Yeah.
All right.
Wow, what a home run, Iman.
Is it good?
Really good.
It has I got a little sweet taste.
Really
taste of red
vinaigrette
mustard.
combination, blueberries, the wet, all the greens. You also put the sunflower seeds there,
Yeah.
and then the purple radish.
I'm so glad you like. Yeah, so the purple radish and the green blueberries, so a little unripe green berries, are such strong flavors, like the tartness of the blueberry and the spice of the radish. Also the spice of the nasturtium, the flower, are such strong flavors that I really wanted to sort of tone it down a little bit with the sweetness of the vinaigrette. The sweet you taste is that wildflower honey I was telling you about, which is really nice. A little bit of olive oil, a little bit of Dijon, which is a great emulsifier. It's pretty much the building blocks of any good dressing. Has
some sort of honey or like maple, and some sort of Dijon version of that.
Yeah, I think you
and
just
some
changed
olive oil.
my whole like. I mean, I make salads, but not as delicious
Not
as
like
this. So
this.
now that I know the ingredients, I'm
It's
definitely
too
gonna,
easy, you know?
gonna definitely partake in that.
Yeah, I'm
do
so
that.
glad to hear that. That's actually like a huge reason why I do what I do, is showing people that like eating well and living well doesn't have to be super complex or super complicated. Like it's literally using what you have around you, either whether that means going to your local market or going outside in your backyard and harvesting whatever you got, like, and then just like playing around and experimenting with what flavors you like and which ones taste good but are also good for you, and getting creative.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like a lot of farmers, they don't really eat the stuff that they make, you know, or they help grow.
That's actually so surprising to me.
Yeah, but to me, it's like I'm like stoked to do that because we have like different things, and I definitely try to take care of it as much as possible.
Right.
So I feel very, very fortunate. Yeah,
I feel there's a gap, right? And I feel that what we're doing is kind of filtered, because when you're at home, or let's say you go and you're buying organic produce, you go to Whole Foods, spend all this money, take it home, and then what should I do with it? What should I mean? And you always do the same thing, right? For example, I have broccoli and then broccoli cream, right? Or just steamed broccoli type of thing. But when you really know how to mix it up, right? That's when I think you unlock this other menu that you have at home. That even if you buy organic or from the farm, sometimes we lack that creativity to put some really, really tasty dishes together. I feel that's what you bring so much value to the table, literally, right? With these combinations and recipes that really highlight the produce, one, but also allows you to keep eating well.
Yeah.
Because if you don't enjoy really tasty what you're eating, then you're gonna be bound to say, you know what, yeah, but I'm gonna go and do something else. So I think that you're adding a lot of
I totally agree. Yeah, because the more that you fall in love with your food, the more and then the more that you have diversity, the more like you're excited to eat what like, you know, what the fresh produce provides. Because I remember growing up, I was thinking like for some reason I had an illusion that good, you know, healthy food doesn't taste good.
Right.
But
Who told us that?
No, who knows?
That's like
but
so
it's like,
just the opposite of the truth.
Exactly, it was the opposite from what I've discovered. Because when I first started on the farm, and kind of tasting the strawberries as I was volunteering, and then tasting the tomatoes, just like a little warm from the sun. It was, I feel like a millionaire. I don't know, just being having the access to such delicious and I know nutritious food.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is that how you got started on the farm? You started volunteering?
Yeah,
That's
for
amazing.
sure. And I felt that I started volunteering. And I definitely wanted to keep like learning as much as possible. But I think definitely the food was what actually got me into the farm, because I was just a customer and I was just like getting the best food, and I was just loading up with all like in the farm store.
Yeah.
So all the vegetables, all the healthy stuff, and I don't know, to me I'm like, I'm worth it. So I started getting it, and later on I volunteered. You know, it's super awesome. And
That's amazing.
I'm here ever since.
I think we would see real world change once people sort of began getting sort of experimenting in the kitchens and trying out new flavors and like figuring out what else you could do with broccoli and figuring out like what broccoli pairs well with. Maybe it's like this like random new vegetable that you're seeing in the grocery store. Like I think when we're not afraid to experiment, that's where the creativity happens. And I think that is when the real magic can happen. And I think I really like that you touched on worth, like the idea of self-worth being a part of the conversation when it comes to like buying regenerative or organic versus like regular stuff, and like being educated in that front, but also understanding that you're worth the highest quality food, like, and the highest quality that you have access to, like, and not being afraid to like try your best and experiment and get creative and like seeing what works for you, because your body does deserve it.
Totally. Yeah, I would like to tell people when we give farm tours, and also to the farmers market, I like to remind people that our bodies are worth more than a Ferrari.
Yeah.
like because our bodies are like a really high tech, the most high tech machine that has ever existed so far. It seems like one of
Yes.
them. And we're just touching on the ideas on how food is medicine, and how like a lot of the natural processes like in food and having the sun and all the other like micronutrients, especially with all the bacteria. I like to highlight a lot of bacteria in the soil.
Yeah.
They're like super important for all the diverse nutrients. Just like you mentioned, like eating the rainbow. When you
Mhm.
have a diversity of microbes in the soil, they also too have a diversity of types of food as well that they need for their own health.
Mm.
And to me, I like how to me highlight those little organisms that we basically want to always kind of get rid of, but actually they're really beneficial, not only in the ground, but also too in our lower intestines as well. Where the more diverse, the better immune system, the better happiness you'll have. Because
Yeah.
it's interesting, right? Food does make you happy.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a whole lot of conversations going around about how gut health is brain health, right? There's a direct connection between, I know the acronym, it's ENS, it's endocrine something system, which essentially is like the communication path between our gut and our brain. And if our guts are unhappy, we notice a lot of mental health and emotional health problems like that sort of we experience throughout our lives. And so I'm really curious about what the relationship is between soil health and like the micronutrients that exist in the soil and the effect that can have on our gut and then ultimately our mental health. I don't know if
Yeah, no, totally. There's still like so much to learn. Like we're learning more and more how like thinking in systems, and especially for the health of the soil is so
Yeah.
important, because compost is just one of the tools. Because also too having because the more diverse, and like there's like soil scientists that say, when you have like just a lot of diversity in the soil, the plant, you don't need to spray chemicals. And to me that's like a really important thing.
I agree. Yeah, say more on that. Like,
Yeah, so far there's some farmers that I know don't need to spray. And also too they don't need to fertilize as well. And also too some other farmers, some regenerative farmers, that they did some testing on their food, and I forgot exactly what nutrients it was, but it was like 400 times more. And to me in the
whoa, on a regenerative farm versus a conventional farm?
yeah, it was like a Singing Frogs farm up north.
Wow.
Yeah, and to me luckily I have like these people that are already doing it, and I'm able to kind of learn from them, because I think all of us are trying to figure out, especially like it all depends on context. Just like food, not it's not like a cookie cutter thing.
Right.
It's more like
Ironic.
yeah, it's like more like kind of getting into like how do you feel on this particular kind of food.
Yeah.
And the more diverse you have, the more like you can have say, oh, this one tastes really good and also made me feel good. I guess like I don't know, like to connect and soil health to the plants, because I don't know, there's something that that as far as I know, it's just way more nutritious. Sometimes like in like some oranges, like you would need to eat like 6 of them to get like what you got nutrients wise like before the world wars.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's just like when we had basically war with insects and plant life, and like the weeds or bugs,
Mhm.
and then we went to war with them, and we started killing off the soil. And those guys, coincidentally, the soil is what suffered, and also too the tilling of the soil. Even though I have to, like disc, but I know it's very detrimental to try to do it as least as possible. But that's what farming does as so far. So I know if we kind of change our methods and try to experiment, it's just hard when there's a bottom line, right? But I think if we have multiple bottom lines, like the well-being of the plants and the well-being of the soil nutrients in the soil, and also to each other as
I was
well.
gonna say, because soil health is human health, right? Like if the soil is fully packed with nutrients, so is our food that we then eat, and we are then packed with those same nutrients.
Totally.
So if we continue on the same path and are using the same sort of pesticides and practices like tilling that are reaping, like essentially just stealing the nutrients out of the soil and the life, then we're ultimately only harming ourselves.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nature's really resilient.
Yeah.
It like we've been bombarding it for like a long time, but there's only so much that we could do.
Yeah.
And there's like like so many books to get into it. I don't even know which angle to like kind of.
What's one of your favorites? What's one book that sort of catalyzed your regenerative
I
journey?
really, well, Actually, because I'm really interested in food and having food be medicine.
Me
I like
too.
this book by William Lee. He did a book called Eat to Beat Disease, and to me, just learning how, like, from what he said about how we could prevent disease, it was funny, like how it's like related to some of the farm kind of philosophies that I picked up. And so just to have the correlation between like food and then the soil health and farming in general, and also to my outlook on life, like I think we could all change the world if we all like eat well. That's one organism that's healthy,
Precisely.
and we're a part of the world, even though in the grand scheme of things we're like microscopic. But if that's you're still part of the world, and if you change that one person, it seems like maybe that could reverberate, because the healthier, the smarter, the less stressed out you are, and maybe
Yeah.
No,
we all
and
could
that
help
has
out.
implications also in how many billions of dollars spent on healthcare every year in the United States,
Absolutely.
in heart disease,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
and diabetes and cure, right. But you go to the doctor,
Right.
and the doctor doesn't say stop eating Big Macs. He's going to say, I'm going to open you up and do a triple bypass. It's not going to tell you just you eat better, right?
Mhm.
And that's the thing that I feel people need to change, right? To say, right, I don't want to go to the doctor. I need to start eating better. And that's something that clicked in me because I was not a good eater at all. And this is where I find it so interesting to really know from the farmer, right? What is going to your food? How is it being made? And knowing that what you're putting in is ultimately not something that somebody certified or some label, but it's really, right, you can eat it off the ground. So with working with a collective opens a great opportunity for you to say you have organic and regenerative and I mean different styles. And then when you say, right, this is style, what is the biggest challenge that you have from this going towards and permeating to other farms here?
Right, and I think that's a great kind of point that you made, because it's better to lead by example. Because there's a lot of people that like to point fingers. Hey, you guys are not doing the right thing. I would do it better. Well, go ahead and do it, and then I'll see what you're doing to
Let's
see how
see, yeah.
successful you are.
Right.
Because
all work
I like the
together.
idea, if you're interested in bringing something, well, let's play the game. Get into
Let's do
farming,
it.
and that's what I like about what we're doing here. We're trying to grow farmers. So if they're interested in regenerative farming, we'll like show you guys within our context, because I should say, like, the ideas could all be there, but within the context of where you are in the world, it's gonna like fluctuate and change.
Right.
Just like like learning something new. Um, there's just a there's just a context, because like let's say you learn math, and then there's like different, I guess, different types, right? And it depends on what your field is like and what resources you have. And it's all gonna depend. But yeah, totally. I don't know, like growing that perspective for sure is so important to like avoid paying. I mean, if you're gonna pay a whole bunch of, like drug companies when you're older,
Right.
Why not, take care of your health now to prevent the disease? Because as
Right.
far as what I learned from William Lee, he mentioned it's easier to prevent disease than when you have it and then try to get rid of it.
Absolutely,
And,
absolutely. It's I read this quote the other day that was, you either pay the farmer or you pay the pharmacy. And it's like,
Yeah.
I love that, because it sort of simplifies this idea that, like, where eventually there's going to be a cost to pay. And you're either going to pay the farmer, or the farmer's going to sort of pay the cost, or the pharmacy is eventually going to do it, or your body will eventually tell you that there's some sort of some problems that need fixing. And so I think if we are conscious, more so conscious of what we're eating and what we're putting into our bodies, and more so conscious that we're worthy of like taking care of our bodies now, so that we can sort of approach it from a preventative approach, I think
totally.
then we'll see world change.
Yeah.
Because world change starts with the individual.
Yeah, that reminds me of what we talked about earlier, when we said everybody could grow a seed, to just learn what it does.
Yeah.
And you put it in the refrigerator, it doesn't do anything.
Right.
If you put it in soil, and you put it with plenty of sunlight, and it should
love.
perform better. Or
Yeah.
once you get bored from that, then cover it, right? Experiment with covering it with light.
See how it grows when you cover it. See how it grows with full
without
exposure.
water.
Yeah.
With other weeds.
experiment.
Try to see what it does.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like something that gets you closer to reality. Because I think nowadays, it seems like even in the farming world, we kind of get pulled. Like I guess for me, it just seems like I'm being pulled. Like, oh no, you need to do it this way. No, you need to do it that way. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to do it the best that I could with having my like my direction towards the well-being of people and the environment and the plants and myself. Try to look through different lenses, so it's not just like economic. You need to try to pump as much food out here and make it not taste good and stuff like that. So I definitely want to make sure I have the most like tasty food as much as possible, and have like the idea that the plants don't just grow; they're being pulled by the sun. The shaft of the plants being pulled down. Gravity's also too pulling it down. So things are always being pushed. We're being pushed too. It's just like what are we looking for?
I love that.
The farmer strikes the balance, basically.
What was that?
And the farmer strikes the balance between all the
The forces.
The
The farmer's like, grow.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Reminds me of the heroes are in the ground. They're microscopic. We don't see them, but they've been here before us.
Truly.
And they're gonna be here after us.
Truly.
And so I think we need to try to align with them as much as possible.
Absolutely, and help them in their process, because it ultimately only helps us as well.
Totally, for sure.
I love that.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know what got you guys into into food and.
Well, I guess I'll go. For me, I told you a little bit in when we first met. I got into food because I was sort of experiencing mental and emotional instability in my life. I was also a teenager, so it comes with that. But I needed this sense of balance that I didn't have access to at the time. And my options were either eat better, exercise, sleep better, sleep more, sleep consistently, or take antidepressants and take anti-anxiety medication. And I was lucky enough to have a mother at the time who decided together with me to sort of approach it regeneratively. We are a real deal. We've got a tractor coming across the scene. He's doing his best. He's doing his thing. It's all good. This is real deal. We're really in the action, in the thick of it.
We're really on the farm.
We're really on a farm. Anyway, yeah. So my mother was sort of informed on the food as medicine approach, the sort of Eastern, I guess you could call it, approach to medicine and eating medicinally. And so we sort of approached it together. And then with that, I sort of made the transition into a plant-based diet. It started vegan, and then I started incorporating eggs back into my diet and sort of different protein sources that aren't meat. And I noticed that there was a relationship between the food that I was eating and the way that I was feeling pretty early on. The
You're
more
like a problem solver.
Yeah, precisely.
For
You
your
gotta
body.
be. You gotta be, exactly. Because there just was no other option. Like you said, I think the sort of Western medical world is approaching it from their bottom line. I think Big Pharma makes a lot of money off of people's illnesses because that's just the way our system is set up. That's the way capitalism is set up. How do we make this is a business? And I knew that I couldn't go to them for healing or for like genuine help.
Right.
I believe that there was there's room for the Western approach always, but there's also room to integrate more of an Eastern approach, which is that sort of food as medicine, sort of preventative medicine way of looking at things. And I think we need to integrate them more. But anyway, my journey started because I needed to change everything. And it started with what I was eating, like the most fundamental thing, which was the food that was on my plate. And I recognized pretty early that the more foods that I was eating that were alive, like literally out of the ground, like vegetables and fruits and like from sustainable sources, like the farmer's market I had access to at the time, like the more alive I would inherently feel. Like the food that we eat vibrates on a specific frequency, and consuming it helped me to sort of vibrate on that frequency as well and regulate some of the mental and emotional problems that I was experiencing. And then because I was vegan and because there are only so many options out there in the world, I had to get creative fast. Otherwise I was just going to be eating like black bean burgers, like veggie burgers and carrots and celery. And I was like, I think food is what you make it, and I wanted to turn it into art. I wanted it to be an enjoyable experience, and so I have been doing that for the last like 5-6 years, and I love it. It's become
Nice.
the way that I can be of service to others, but also in service to myself. Show myself that I'm worthy of a good sort of healthy meal has been huge, and then to show my loved ones that they're worthy of it as well. I'm like, yo, look at this crazy vegetable, like let's eat it and let's turn it into this, or let's experiment and put it in this sauce, or let's roast it instead of eating it raw, or vice versa. And just the creativity and the experimentation of it, I feel like a mad scientist every time I'm in my kitchen, and it's
Nice.
it's alchemy. It really has become such a beautiful expression of love. And
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes too, like a mad scientist too, when I'm out here experimenting and things.
Right.
And like you talk about like your personal health. I'm also too like looking at like the health of the soil, because it's been beaten for a long time, and I could just tell like there's big chunks of like clay basically, and that our soil here is like clay, and like silty.
Yeah.
Some of it's like very patchy, because if you see like the mountains around,
Yeah.
all those mountains, all the silt, kind of came down and went over to the ocean.
Oh,
so
wow.
so that's why our land is very fertile, because sometimes people are like, oh wow, your carrots taste really delicious, your food is so great, your strawberries are amazing. And I'm like, I don't know if it's just like our practices, or because nature kind of gave us that head up.
Yeah.
And also too, now that I know, because we're very lucky to have like here in the Oxnard Plains like 13 feet of topsoil, like what other countries are lucky to have 2. And so to me, like to make the soil like really like and kind of putting all the energy from the sun and charging the ground as much as possible. I think that's like, I feel like that's like a part of my mission here on the farm, and that's why I feel like sometimes you're like a mad scientist, where I'm like trying to solve problems and all these, because being a farmer in general is just, you're solving problems
You're
all
a
the time.
problem solver. Yeah.
You're just trying, you get hit with the weather, you have you have the tractor implements you're breaking down, or the tractor breaking down, you have all these different variables you have to take into consideration, and luckily for us too, because we're so diversified with the different crops. So like, let's say if one of them just doesn't work out, then it's all right, because we could rotate. But you're right, sometimes too, it's like, should I let that live, or should I kill it? It's like,
that's a lot of power to have.
Right. So yeah,
That's
it's just
interesting.
interesting, right? Yeah, it's like, as a farmer, you kind of get to decide, and ultimately want to do it for the greater good, of everybody else. Because the idea with making the best decision, we don't know. Sometimes you don't know until next season. And I think in many years in the future, because me, I've been doing this for like, at least like leading the farm just for a few years, but in farming for like over 7 years. So the decisions that I'm making now, I feel like I'm gonna learn from like 10 years from now. Oh, okay, I'm gonna be more attuned, and just like, I think, the older you get, the wiser you should get. And I think that's something that I really cherish here, because what you mentioned too is like it is sometimes it's tough, but
I wanted to ask you also, is when you work on the land with the plants, there was a time when I found that the Mayan had a different calendar, 13 moon calendar, and I was following the moon calendar, and you kind of feel that your clock is right the moon, and you see it from new all the way to full moon. So you're following the cycles of the moon, and I felt a little bit of more of a connection to nature. Now, in your case, that you're immersed here in the land, that you're seeing from seed sometimes, right, to the, how, do you feel like, right? I mean, you don't, obviously you guys wake up very early with a rooster, maybe, right? It's like,
too much annoying birds.
right.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
But it's like that integration to the land and to nature, right? On top of, right, you eat the food and everything else, but can do you feel that connection there, as working so many years?
Yes, so far, the connection that I really got is over the long haul, and I felt it more. Like I mentioned, I'm still like, I feel like I still have like a long way to go in learning about like how the moon affects the plants and stuff like that. But something I have felt is that, let me know if you can remind me of what I said earlier. But basically, it's like a cumulative, like sense, I guess you could say. Like for me, eating well, for now, like at least for me, it seems like eating a lot of the stuff here on the farm, I feel like more alive for sure. Like it's an accumulative thing. It's not going to say, hey, no, I just had a great meal. Look, this is one healthy meal. I should feel
so
great.
alive.
I should. No, it actually happens years into the future, where actually get the payoff. And I feel like right now, like more than ever, I feel like most healthiest, most alive, most active than I have in my whole life. So I feel like I want to keep, until like I don't think I'm ever going to retire. I'm always going to do something. And in relating to the earth and protecting it and because it seems like we talk about the earth is gonna be fine and the humans
Truly.
that's probably
Earth is gonna make it. It's us.
But
we
to
need
me, if we help earth and its
Precisely.
processes, we help ourselves.
If we coexist, I think that is the crux of where all the solutions to our problems lie. If we coexist with the earth, if we coexist with each other, if we integrate a sort of deeper connection to ourselves and the land and one another, that is where we see like all the solutions to every problem that we have.
Totally, yeah, that connection, right?
Yeah.
And I think that like here the tractor, even though that's a machine,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's polluting. You have you're dealing with all these different things, but I think that the best decision is the one that I don't think nobody makes a mistake. As far as I know, it's like as long as you have a certain direction. To me, it seems like if we have a goal, like say to protect the earth, let's just say if we have that connection, no matter where you are, whatever field you're in, and then you're headed towards that direction, we're allies, and let's keep coming together. Let's share ideas, and I won't judge you for the decisions that you make because we all have to face our own decisions, and that's why I say when you eat well, and you shop local and you shop in season, you're like functionally selfish. Where you help yourself.
Functionally selfish. I love that. Say more about that.
Yeah, because it's like you help yourself, you help your well-being, you help your local farm, you help your local economy, and also too you help not pollute as much because you're shopping in the season within your region in the world.
Your region and your community.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Can you tell me the difference between regenerative farming and conventional farming?
Well, hold on to that question though, of like what is like regenerative versus conventional. Well, like with Farmer Cruz right now that's on the tractor, he's like an expert farmer. To me, it seems like because he like right when he tills the soil, he plants. And sometimes even organic farmers, organic farmers and conventional, both of them, they still have like. Sometimes you have to do like big swaths of land, and then it sits, dry, and there's a lot of carbon released in the air, and that contributes to climate change, right?
Interesting.
So I see his methods. He's still using the same kind of tools, very similar, but like right when the plant is done, then we turn it over and then plant right away. So it's always alive. So the ground is always charged, and coincidentally, he has to keep the ground moist. You talked about water earlier, so keeping that water in the ground, because you can imagine our bodies, all our cells. We have like 100 trillion cells in our bodies. Each one of those needs water, and so that's how it's almost like a conveyor in our bodies of nutrients.
A conveyor. I love
Yeah,
that.
and also too in the plants too, like the sun helps out with like the water helps with the conveyor process.
That's beautiful. So regenerative is not this sort of set in stone thing. It's this thing of sort of making an effort one step at a time, more and more, to become sort of more of a steward to the earth is essentially what you're saying. I love that. I mean, I think that was a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time and having this incredible sort of moment to enlighten us to what the future could really look like and what a regenerative journey could look like for all of us. I think that's so important that we are having these conversations now.
Yes, thank you very much, Farmer Kesh. Iman, it was delicious. The product was really good, so thank you both.
Thank you.
You're welcome, for sure.
Oh my gosh, we honor you.
Definitely a pleasure.
Oh my gosh.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.